Those were the streets of New York City, overrun by Islamists who are fighting against the police. Now, the obvious question is, why would we import millions of people from places that are openly hostile against America, where our way of life is seen as an affront to their religion and their God, where school children chant "Death to America" every morning like they're reciting the Pledge of Allegiance, where the United States is seen as some villainous empire that must be destroyed, where the culture and values are diametrically opposed to ours, yet they've been encouraged not to assimilate and to preserve their unique way of life because to do otherwise would be racist. And now fanatic Islamic extremism isn't just a problem we have to deal with across the world, it's a problem that we're dealing with right here on our very own streets. And now we can't even deal with these threats abroad without considering the chaos it will cause domestically, because our country is filled with people who have no loyalty to America, no interest in being American. They're here to infiltrate our institutions and take down the bad American empire from within. And don't take my word for it, here's a Muslim man in Brooklyn, New York, giving a sermon saying just that.
And it will continue, and Allah will replace you. Whether I see that or not is irrelevant. But I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of the US government. I am not afraid of the United States Army. I am not afraid of ICE. I'm not afraid of whatever they control. Not only am I not afraid, but it is my life mission to stand against all of the above.
700 years of our trial to conquer Europe by force failed. They did something wrong, very wrong. They tried for many years to conquer Europe through wars, only wars.
This is the soft Islamic conquest of the West. Basically, what the Islamic and again, I'm an Orthodox Muslim. What we couldn't do in the last, say, 20 years, now the West is doing it for us for free and even paying for it.
Allah permitted them to live off the infidel while they are subduing them. So it had sort of a parasitic type of attitude where they can live off of the host country, where their goal is to eventually eradicate the host culture and supplant it with.
So if you're thinking no sane or rational country would flood their borders with their enemies, well, you're right. And the State Department dropped a bombshell revealing that this has been a global conspiracy to destabilize the West. Last week, the United States refused to participate in the UN's review of the Global Compact on Migration. The United States objects to the Global Compact on Migration and UN efforts to facilitate replacement migration to the United States and our Western allies. UN agencies systematically facilitated mass migration into America and Europe, even as citizens of these nations called for restrictions on migration. Now, the Global Compact's latest report urges nations to expand migration pathways and pursue regularization of migrants. UN agencies working with the NGOs they fund established a migration corridor through Central America and to the US border, as the American people suffered under an unprecedented wave of mass migration. The UN was on the ground pipelining migrants to our southern border. UN officials greeted migrants along the route through the deadly Darien Gap. UN-funded NGOs handed out maps to migrants en route to the US. After facilitating mass migration to the United States, UN agencies condemned the deportation of illegal immigrants. As Europe endured sustained migratory pressure, UN officials staffed all ends of the Mediterranean migration route, from the coast of Libya to the shores of the Aegean to the islands of Greece. The UN agencies condemned frontline states who refused to open their borders. While the United Kingdom faced unprecedented illegal boat crossings, UN agencies condemned plans for deportations. UN officials lobbied aviation regulators to prevent the deportation of migrants, an appalling violation of the UK's national sovereignty. The Global Compact on Migration claims to support safe migration. For the citizens of Western nations, mass migration was never safe. It introduced new security threats, imposed financial strains, and undermined the cohesion of our societies. The United States will not legitimize global compacts that enable mass migration into America or Western nations. Under President Trump, the State Department will facilitate remigration, not replacement migration. Ladies and gentlemen, smash the like button. Just 5 years ago, stating this opinion publicly would get you canceled and condemned as a vile racist. Now it is the official position of the United States government. It is officially time for the United States to leave the United Nations. What started as a well-intentioned goal to promote global diplomacy has transformed into an organization that exists solely to subvert American national sovereignty, where all the tiny, insignificant countries of the world can morally grandstand and try and shame and condemn the United States for not giving them more free stuff. They'll introduce a resolution like every person on planet Earth is entitled to a Ferrari, and all the countries vote for it except the United States, who would actually have to pay for this resolution. And then they'll point and say, see, the United States is bad, they're selfish. The United Nations has been unable to prevent any global conflict, and it's allowed bitter, jealous third world countries to promote initiatives that directly harm the United States. Look at this article out of Austria. A study finds 41% of young Muslims say their religion supersedes local laws. That's who we're bringing in. People who want to impose their way of life, their culture, their religious laws on the rest of us. And through this United Nations facilitated open border global communism, we've allowed the most radical elements from across the world to infiltrate our societies. That's why the UAE cuts funding and restricts their citizens from studying at UK universities out of fear they are being radicalized by Islamic groups. Muslim countries are prohibiting their young people from traveling to the West for fears of being indoctrinated in radical, violent Islamic extremism. Radical Islam is swiftly suppressed in these Muslim nations, but in the West, they've weaponized our principles of freedom and open-mindedness to prevent us from stopping the spread of radical ideology. The point of these global bodies is to punish the West for historical injustices and seize their wealth to distribute it amongst the people of the third world. And that's why you have the Prime Minister of the UK saying the future of the UK is Muslim, and the President of France saying the future of France is African. You can't make this up.
The British Muslim community is not defined by this. It is defined by the success, the brilliance, and the creativity in rooms like this, by contribution that Muslims make to Britain's story and to our national life. That is how it's defined. In business, in art, in education, in public service, you are the face of modern Britain.
I want the youth of France to understand that our fate is tied with the African continent's fate, that we will succeed with Africa. And there are some 17 million French people who are part of the African diaspora. So we are part of this continent. It is a great chance for us as French. There are millions of French people who are French Malian or French Algerian or French Senegalese. So we have this great chance to be able to succeed alongside the African continent.